Hi, welcome to Melissa's Money Mindset. I hope you're all doing wonderfully today. So hopefully you caught part one of my previous video about how to double your savings within the year. Part one really focused on 3 changes that you can make to your finances, starting with just having a really honest evaluation of your finances, how you're spending your money, what you're spending your money on, potentially picking a budgeting method, and limiting bad debt. Now I will link that video up above here, so be sure to check it out before you watch part 2 here. Now in today's video, I'm going to focus on 4 new financial techniques that you can implement again to double your savings in the next 12 months. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and let's get right into the rest of the video. The 4th step to double your savings in the next year is to automate. So with human nature comes temptation. And so if you want to try to help your future self out as much as possible, you should try and remove as much of that financial temptation as possible. And by doing that, I mean you should set up some auto payments or some auto savings or auto investing options. Many online banking platforms offer this feature. I typically get paid a few times per month just based on the nature of my businesses, but generally everything has settled, let's say around the 29th of each month. So on the 30th of each month, I have my bank auto transfer a percentage of my paychecks into savings. So since I'm self-employed, I obviously have to save extra for taxes. And then I also include things like how much I want to put into my savings account every single month, and also the amount that I eventually want to put into my investment accounts. And if there's an extra balance left over and I know I'm not going to be needing in the near future, then I just do my future self a favor and again, transfer that all over to savings at the same time. So essentially by saying all that, if your money is not just sitting in your checking account, you might be less tempted to spend your money, knowing that it's a little bit less accessible hidden away in your savings account. And I'd obviously be remiss if I didn't mention looking into a high yield savings account while we're on this step. So make sure that you're checking out this list of savings accounts or even touch base with your local credit unions. You should be able to make around 5% in a high yield savings account at the moment. The 5th financial change that you can make is to work backwards from your goal. So again, I think the most helpful thing to do here is to talk about this as a real life example. So let's say you currently have $10,000 in savings, but in 1 year's time, you want that to be $20,000 based on the focus of this video. So that's $833 a month that you would need to save, or broken down even further is about $200 per week. A 2023 applied psychology study actually found that breaking this bigger goal down into smaller goals actually resulted in more durable benefits and the possibility of actually overachieving those goals. It also resulted in increased flexibility. So for example, if one month maybe you didn't quite meet your savings goals, your chances of falling off the bandwagon completely are lesser because you're essentially more easily able to adapt your savings goal the following month to account for any deficits in the previous month. So again, you can see that starting with that goal of saving $10,000 per year could be very overwhelming, especially to some people. So breaking it down and making it much more manageable, much more easily digestible into $200 per week can definitely help keep you on track. Change number 6 is to create an untouchable account. Now, going back to that temptation that I previously mentioned, if you do find yourself being tempted either to spend money on your credit card or to pull money out of savings to maybe pay for a credit card or to pull into your checking so that you can make a purchase, then this could be a really good option for you. So the idea here is to essentially open an entirely new savings account, a new bank account, but potentially at a bank that you don't currently bank at. So for example, I bank with Chase, but I have a separate account at a local credit union that I use for my business dealings, and you guessed it, a savings account. Now, typically, again, if you think you're going to be tempted, it's much harder to transfer money between banks, if not impossible. Sometimes you have to get a cashier's check or a money order and take that in between banks if you want to toggle your money around that way. So having this untouchable or unaccessible bank account somewhere else at some place that you don't typically bank could really help you out. So the money that is allocated to this personal savings account at my local credit union is things for an emergency fund. Again, I always say on this channel, I like to have 12 months of an emergency fund just because I'm self-employed, but you should have anywhere between at least 3 and 6 months saved up. I also put money for potential future investing in here and also money for any potential big future real estate deals. And if I don't end up using or needing this money, then at the end of every fiscal year, I take all of the money from that account and I throw it into my brokerage account so that it can go to work for me. So like we previously mentioned, you could automate having payments sent to this account every single month, or you could just put it on your list to make sure that you stop by this bank and deposit money every single month. And the other thing that you could set up at whatever institution you're planning to open this account through is maybe you make your money inaccessible until you reach whatever your money goal is. So I can't touch this money until I have a balance of $10,000 in the account, or whatever your specific goal is. So by truly isolating this money and maybe setting up some kind of an auto deposit system, you really are helping your future financial self out and boosting your chances of actually achieving that goal of doubling your savings within the next 12 months. And the seventh and final change here is making more money. So if you truly feel like you've implemented all of the things that I've talked about in part 1 and part 2 of this video series, but you still feel like you're not saving enough money to meet that goal of doubling your savings within a 12-month period of time, then now could be the time to really shift your mindset from thinking about shrinking your expenses down to be as minimal as they possibly can be, to really thinking about expanding, to making additional money, to creating multiple sources of income. And there's a few ways that you can do this. If you work for somebody else, maybe you have for a while, you feel like you really give it your all at work and you can very clearly articulate why you might be eligible for a raise, then I think now is the time to consider scheduling a meeting with your boss to discuss this further. And if they aren't open to it, then it might be time to start looking elsewhere. It's honestly not uncommon for people to have to job hop a little bit, especially in today's day and age, to essentially increase their salary or to get some benefits that are important to them. Now, on the flip side, maybe you want to stay remaining employed by somebody else, but you want to start your own side hustle, or maybe you want to start building your own legitimate business from the ground up, and your goal is to become fully self-employed someday. So no matter what you want to do, maybe that's offering haircuts or colorings, giving massages, maybe you want to mentor somebody, you want to start your own grass or lawn mowing or landscaping business, or do retail arbitrage, or maybe you have some kind of a tech skill that you could then use as a freelancer on Upwork or Fiverr. All of those things are good options. And once those businesses do start generating income, you can always look into opening an LLC or even transitioning to an S Corp or a C Corp to save you a little bit on self-employment tax. But again, always make sure that you're asking your accountant or your attorney which option is best for you. Now, like I said, you can obviously start doing this while you have a 9-to-5 job. That's exactly what I did back in the day, nearly a decade ago. So I started my first business, my e-commerce business, back when I was still working my normal day job. And once my e-commerce business was triple or quadruple what I ever could have made at my normal day job as a W-2 employee, that's when I left and I jumped headfirst into the world of self-employment. Now, if that is not your goal, that's completely fine. I'm not saying that has to be, but at least that will set you up to have multiple streams of income. It will allow you to invest in yourself, invest in your future, and also meet your savings goals at the same time. So those are my 7 financial tips between part 1 and part 2 of this video to help you double your savings in the next 12 months. So I hope this video has been helpful. If it was, do me a huge favor and like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you're notified every time I put out a new video. Let me know in the comment section down below what some of your other financial goals are. If you're not following me on my other social channels, I will link those up above right here. Feel free to come over and join me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.